Quick disclaimer, this is an AI voice, which is not going to be perfect. There is a transcript in the description as well as subtitles for you to read along with. Elections are a key feature of a representative democracy. Electoral systems are methods of voting for a representative. There are 4 different types of electoral systems, which includes first-past-the-post, additional member system, single transferable votes, and supplementary votes. First-past-the-post is the electoral system used in the UK for general elections. In this system, the electorate votes for a candidate for the constituency that they are in, with the candidate that receives the most votes winning the seat in Parliament for that constituency. The party that has the most candidates in Parliament forms the government. One advantage of first-past-the-post is that it is a simple system that voters can easily understand. As well as this, the elected representatives are bound to the needs and wants of their constituency. In addition, first-past-the-post is part of political tradition that produces an outright winner. However, one disadvantage of first-past-the-post is that it favours large parties, with the biggest party tending to win more seats than its proportion of votes. As well as this, first-past-the-post can fail to produce a decisive government. The additional member system is the electoral system used in Scotland, Wales and the Greater London Authority. In this system, voters cast 2 votes, one for a candidate in their local constituency and another for a party list. The local constituencies are filled using the first-past-the-post method, while the party list vote is used to allocate additional seats to achieve a proportional representation in the legislature. An advantage of the additional member system is that it is proportional and provides a wider choice of representative candidates. As well as this, there is a strong link between the constituency and the Member of Parliament. However, a disadvantage of the additional member system is that it creates 2 different types of party members and representatives. As well as this, the additional member system uses a closed list system, so the leadership of the party orders the candidates and voters do not get a say. In addition, smaller parties may achieve less representation than they would under a fully proportional representative system. There are many similarities and differences between the additional member system and first-past-the-post. One similarity between these voting systems is that they both involve electing a constituency representative with candidates competing for individual seats and will be accountable to that constituency once elected. However, a difference between these voting systems is that voters cast 2 votes in the additional member system, but cast a single vote in first-past-the-post. As well as this, the additional member system tends to be more representative than first-past-the-post. In addition, the additional member system is more likely to produce a coalition government, while first-past-the-post tends to produce a majority government consisting of one party. The single transferable votes is the voting system used for the Northern Irish Assembly. In this system, each party will put up a candidate for the seats available. Voters will then number the candidates for their constituency in order of preference, and after the election, an electoral quota is calculated, which is the number of votes in the election divided by the number of seats available and won. If no party reaches this quota with first preferences, the least popular candidate is eliminated and the second preferences are transferred. This process is continued until the electoral quota is reached by a candidate. An advantage of the single transferable vote system is that there is a high voter choice as they order every candidate that is running. As well as this, there is a close correlation between the votes and the seats, making this system more representative of what the electorate wants. In addition, single transferable votes has created power-sharing coalition governments, which prevents one party coming too dominant. However, one disadvantage of the single transferable vote system is that it is not fully proportional as it uses second and third preferences. As well as this, there can still be conflict between rivals, despite bringing them closer. In addition, this method is more complex, which may confuse voters, resulting in them ordering candidates in the order that they appear on the ballot paper. There are many similarities and differences between single transferable votes and first-past-the-post. One similarity is that both systems focus on individual candidates, with voters selecting an individual representative rather than a party. However, a difference is that voters choose a single candidate in first-past-the-post, but rank all candidates in preference order in single transferable votes. As well as this, in first-past-the-post, seats are allocated based on who wins the most votes, whereas single transferable votes allocate seats based on who meets the electoral quota. Supplementary votes is the voting system used for electing mayors. In this system, each voter has a first and second preference vote. The candidate with more than 50% of the first preference votes are automatically elected. If this does not happen, all the candidates except the top 2 are eliminated and second preference votes are added so that there is an overall winner. One advantage of the supplementary vote system is that it ensures a broad range of support for the winner. As well as this, it is simple and straightforward to use, so voters are less likely to get confused. In addition, it encourages campaigning in all constituencies, including safe seat constituencies, which is a constituency where one specific party is voted and is unlikely to change from that party. However, a disadvantage of the supplementary vote system is that it does not produce a proportional outcome, as one individual is being selected. As well as this, the winner does not need an absolute majority and only need to get more votes than the other candidates. In addition, voters need to be able to identify the likely top two candidates to try and influence the outcome. There are many similarities and differences between supplementary votes and first past the post. One similarity is that voters vote for an individual representative rather than for a party with a single representative being elected. However, one difference is that voters get two choices with supplementary votes and get one choice with first past the post. As well as this, in first past the post, the candidate with the most votes wins, which can result in a winner without majority support, whereas supplementary votes incorporates second preference votes and aims for the winner to have at least 50% of the votes, resulting in a winner with majority support. A referendum is a vote on an issue that is posed as a question and requires a yes or no answer from the electorate. These are not legally binding on the government, but they are unlikely to ignore the will of the people. In the UK, referendums have been used to get an idea of public opinion on significant political issues, often when the government seeks legitimacy for a major decision. An example of this is the 1975 referendum on whether the UK should remain in the European Economic Community, which was the first national referendum held in the UK. Since then, there have been the 1997 referendums in Scotland and Wales on devolution, and the 2014 Scottish independence referendum. The most recent referendum was the 2016 referendum on the United Kingdom's membership in the European Union, where a narrow majority voted to leave, leading to profound political and economic changes. While not legally binding, the outcomes of these referendums have typically been respected and implemented by the government. Referendums have significantly impacted politics in the UK since 1997. Referendums involve the electorate in crucial decisions that can lead to changes in the government and national identity. For example, the 1997 referendums resulted in the creation of the Scottish Parliament and the Welsh Assembly, which altered the structure of the political system in the UK and led to greater regional representation. The 2014 Scottish independence referendum led to more debates on national sovereignty and more calls for independence. The 2016 Brexit referendum led to political divisions and uncertainty in the economy. Referendums have increased the influence of direct democracy, allowing it to influence specific policies and the government's power. There are many arguments for and against referendums in a representative democracy. One argument for referendums in a representative democracy is that it is the purest form of democracy and can increase the political awareness of voters. As well as this, referendums can help solve conflicts within the government and can help prevent the government becoming overly dominant in Parliament. However, one argument against referendums in a representative democracy is that the issues may be too complex for people to understand, and they may be swayed by emotional appeals instead of voting based on their opinion. As well as this, the government chooses when to call a referendum, which means that they have control over referendums and only use them when they want. In addition, they challenge parliamentary sovereignty, as the electorate are making the decision, not Parliament. Another argument against referendums is that there is usually a low turnout, which means the result is not representative of what the entire population wants. Different electoral systems are used across the UK for many reasons, with each electoral system having an impact on the government, party representation, and voter choice. One reason why first past the post is used for general elections is because the outcome usually achieves the interests of the two main parties, the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. As well as this, voters accept first past the post as it is familiar and easy to use. In addition, first past the post tends to produce a majority government, which means they have the majority of the seats in Parliament. Another reason first past the post is used is because each member of Parliament represents a specific area of the country, which ensure a link between the constituents and their representative. As well as this, the first past the post system can prevent smaller, potentially extremist parties from gaining influence in Parliament. In addition, first past the post usually produces clear winners, which reduces the need for negotiation after the election and the need to form coalition governments, which is a government formed from more than one party. Using the first past the post electoral system impacts the government, party representation, and voter choice. The impact of first past the post on the government is that it provides a stable majority government, which allows them to implement their policies more effectively. The impact of first past the post on party representation is that larger parties tend to receive a large amount of representation, while smaller parties are underrepresented. The impact of the first past the post system on voter choice is that the choice is limited as voters get one choice for a candidate who may not have a realistic chance of winning. This depends on whether the voter's constituency is a safe seat or marginal seat where the representative of a constituency is likely to come from a different party in the next election. One reason why the additional member system is used for Scotland, Wales and the Greater London Authority is because it allows for proportional representation, which pleased the Liberal Democrats and the Scottish National Party. As well as this, the additional member system allows smaller parties to gain representation, which reduces the dominance of larger parties. In addition, the additional member system provides a mix of directly elected representatives for local constituencies, as well as additional members elected to represent wider regional interests, which ensure both local and regional concerns are addressed. Another reason the additional member system is used is because it encourages voters to participate as they are able to support their preferred candidate and their preferred party. Using the additional member system impacts the government, party representation, and voter choice. The impact of the additional member system on the government is that it often results in a more proportional distribution of seats, which can lead to coalition governments and potentially slow policy implementation. The impact of the additional member system on party representation is that it allows for a more accurate reflection of the overall vote, giving smaller parties and independent candidates a fairer share of seats. The impact of the additional member system on voter choice is that it provides voters with two votes, which enhances their ability to support both their preferred individual and their preferred party for regional representation. One reason why the single transferable vote system is used for the Northern Irish Assembly is because it allows for proportional representation, which was essential in addressing the political issues of Northern Ireland. As well as this, the single transferable vote system ensures that smaller parties and independent candidates have a fair chance of gaining representation, which helps to reduce the dominance of larger parties and promote a power-sharing government. In addition, the single transferable vote system allows voters to rank candidates in order of preference, which gives them more control over who gets elected and helps to ensure that elected representatives have broader support. Another reason the single transferable vote system is used is because it helps to create more balanced and inclusive governments, which is important for Northern Ireland as they have a history of political division. Using the single transferable vote system impacts the government, party representation, and voter choice. The impact of the single transferable vote system on the government is that it often leads to coalition or minority governments, which is a government that does not have a majority of seats in parliament. This can result in more collaborative policy making but potentially slower decision-making processes. The impact of the single transferable vote system on party representation is that it provides a more proportional allocation of seats, allowing smaller parties and independent candidates to gain fair representation based on their share of the vote. The impact of the single transferable vote system on voter choice is that it allows voters to rank candidates in order of preference, giving them greater flexibility and ensuring that their votes contribute to the election outcome even if their first choice candidate does not win. One reason why the supplementary vote system is used for electing mayors in the UK is because it ensures that the winning candidate has a broader base of support by requiring them to gain more than 50% of the vote after second preferences are counted. As well as this, the supplementary vote system allows voters to express a second preference, which reduces the likelihood of wasted votes and gives candidates from smaller parties a better chance of influencing the outcome. In addition, the supplementary vote system is simple to understand and straightforward to set up and use, which ensures that the electoral process is clear and accessible to all voters. Another reason the supplementary vote system is used is because it encourages candidates to appeal to a wider range of voters, as securing second preferences can be crucial to winning the election. Using the supplementary vote system impacts the government, party representation, and voter choice. The impact of supplementary votes on the government is that it can lead to the election of mayors with broader support, often resulting in a more stable leadership that reflects a wider range of voter preferences. The impact of supplementary votes on party representation is that it tends to benefit major parties while still giving smaller parties a chance to influence the outcome through second choice votes that may not be as proportional as other systems. The impact of supplementary votes on voter choice is that it allows voters to express a first and second preference, which provides more flexibility and ensures that their votes help elect a candidate who has broad support. Thank you for watching this video on electoral system. I'll see you in the next lesson.